Hello, and thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me today. I hope that there is something in here that's a benefit to you or to someone that you know. I do apologize for not putting out videos a little more often. I'm still recovering from COVID, if you can hear it in my chest. But there you go. I'm cold with an attitude. Um, and but so I wanted to start today with how many people notice the virtue signaling of the Super Bowl, the kneeling for BLM? Back in 2016, the NFL considered it unpatriotic when Colin Kaepernick did it. But now it's okay. Whatever happened to the national prayer? Where's all the money going, by the way, when with the Super Bowl? What is it, $7 million for a 30-second ad to run on the Super Bowl? All of the stars, all the elites not wearing their masks, but California has a mask mandate for kids in schools. Yeah, no hypocrisy there. No obvious welcome to the Hunger Games, kind of where the elites show they are the elites and you are not. And you must follow the rules, but they don't have to. It's kind of sad when you start seeing two-tiered justice system in America and you start realizing that we're already in some kind of a war. I wanted to cover Whoopi Goldberg, who's returned to work now, and what's going on with her. What I've noticed for a long time with the African American community, and I've said this before in the past, but this goes especially, I've noticed, with the African American community who've not been a member of the military. Now, as I've made a distinction in the past, there are those who recognize themselves as black and those who want to be considered African Americans. Separate. Well, Whoopi Goldberg goes on talking about the sins of the father or the sins of the past and how people of the future need to pay for the crimes of the past. When they make it seem like all white people owned slaves at one time. As I've stated before, my family didn't even immigrate till after the Civil War to the United States. That's both on my mom's side and on my dad's side. So I have nothing to do with owning of slaves in America on my family side. But I guess that's neither here nor there. There's talk again, restitution. Why do I have to pay restitution for something I didn't do? Sins of the father. It makes no sense. So forget that it was the elites in America that could own slaves as well. Not the average person, not the average American. They couldn't afford slaves and have to pay for the food, the upkeep, housing, clothing, etc. that went into it as well. Well, you have people like Snoop Dogg encouraging people to go out and shoot other people, or you have people like Eminem encouraging people to riot, and that riots are good. We hear that from CNN too. And it's funny when you look at Justin Trudeau and what's going on in Canada, how he would in 2016 he was going out and kneeling during BLM protests, but for these truckers, they're a threat to the democracy of Canada. Where's all that money for BLM anyways? But, they want you to ignore the slavery that is going on in China. And I say they, and it's mainly those African Americans who say, we were slaves for, again, and there's no proof that they didn't immigrate actually here after the Civil War themselves. But I want to go on to point out that all these people, Whoopi Goldberg, talking about slavery in the past in America and how it's bad and systemically racist, but let's ignore the stuff that's going on in Liberia and China and all the rest of the slavery around the world that is currently going on right now. Are they trying to stop it? Are they speaking out against it? No, just the stuff of the past, because the past can't defend itself against the things they're currently saying. This is what makes me so upset, which makes me going, wait, this is also an attack on Christianity now. I'll get to that. There are far more slaves in the world today than during the transatlantic slave trade. If you dare to confront reality, you will find that most of the modern slave owners, also today, are not white people. Strange that. You hear how Americans are racist, but only through the lens of those people who identify themselves as African Americans or white liberals. Let's take a look at the Supreme Court. It has to be a black woman according to the left. This should show the discrimination of low expectation, as it is to say that they could not do it on their own merit. And people claim that it is not racist because, after all, people would have to believe there are only two races in America. We are told that it is because of black women are the most oppressed in America that we need a black woman to sit on the Supreme Court right now. Granted, one of those nominations was only a federal judge for a week, and she's already been presented to be a nominee for the Supreme Court. So, and while they want you to believe that the lie that there's no Native Americans in America. As a matter of fact, how many Native Americans are currently sitting on the Supreme Court? That alone should again continue to speak about the racism of low expectations, the discrimination that Biden is using right now of low expectations, that African Americans couldn't make it on their own or on their own merit. And as far as Native Americans, they're not even a consideration apparently. But Biden does want to make a comment on how the NFL happens to be racist because there's not enough black coaches. Again, because the industry of the NFL is mainly predominantly black athletes, we need to have black coaches. Somehow to me that just seems segregationist, racist. So instead, we get to hear how Pelosi is happy that they managed to pass a $350 billion America Competes Act bill, in which it allows American politicians to be able to invest in Chinese corporations. When it was explained to me, the main bulk of this particular bill was to allow American politicians to invest in Chinese businesses and to have a greater degree of what they have done in the past. The bulk of the $350 billion of the taxpayer money goes to China so that we can see if the businesses we are investing in are owned by the CCP or not. Okay, let me say it. If the company's based in China, it's owned by the CCP. I hope that helps. You know, you didn't have to spend $350 billion to determine that. I could do a whole episode on why the government, why it's our government to move these factories back to America would be in our best interest. And I've been saying this since the 90s, well, even the 80s. But that's why Gen Xers tend to be consultants. Someone was asked, why did the Gen Xers tend to be consultants? Well, because we don't have any labor jobs left. They're all overseas, like now, and we're supposed to be investing in the in the trade to keep the sea lanes open with the other countries, because we can't seem to. We have a White House that's giving $30 million of our taxpayer money to give out clean crack pipes. I know the White House put out a statement that there's no crack pipes in these clean kits. As Pelosi keeps saying, however, though, public safety is their utmost priority right now. Yeah, right. Not the borders, not the influx of, in January, 153,000 immigrants were arrested illegally crossing the border, or the people that are on the no-fly list that aren't even supposed to be in America because they're known terrorists that we've apprehended. But what have we done with them? Yeah. Anyways, I had to check this out as well. Someone had mentioned that Antifa.com will lead you to the WhiteHouse.gov. It really does. It leads you to Biden's first year when you put in Antifa.com. Now, someone said that this was somebody on the quote-unquote right had bought the web page and linked it, and that's why it does that. Either way, though, I do consider it a little suspicious with what's currently going on with the Durham report of how Biden and Hillary Clinton have spied not only on Trump pre but as he was also the president, with sightings going back to something about this being an Obama era thing. So I wonder if Obama was also part of spying on Trump or the political rivals. This is huge. This already shows that we are in some kind of a civil war. If we already knew there was something wrong with our politicians, but if they're that corrupt to already be not only spying, but intentionally trying to rid themselves of the other side, like they're doing now, based on the Durham report, which says all the information is false. All of that of Trump being a Russian dissident, a Russian actor, is false information that was trumped up. But he's been impeached on it twice, we've been told as well. That's interesting. That alone shows that there's a lot going on as far as Democrats trying to stop their political opponents. But as I was saying, this to me shows more corruption. When Antifa, I was saying previously, Antifa is just the brown shirts of the Democratic Party. When you've got people like Harris making, our vice president, helping these post bail for Antifa and Black Lives Matter to get these protesters out of jail. The combination of government and corporations working together is generally considered fascism as well. I mean, that's really kind of what fascism is when the government tells businesses how to work and there's a command economy. I think that's the only thing we're kind of missing. Unless, of course, you happen to live in my town where there is already a command economy, where you have the mayor saying how much people can charge for what services. It's already starting, people. It's kind of sad that communism is already here in America. I was also looking at Scientific American. Scientific American. Now, I'd always considered this magazine to be a bit bunk anyways. But I was reading it, and I want to go over their article they came out with here in February. It says, teaching about racism is essential for education. Lessons about racial injustice help students understand reality. This is an editorial piece because it's by the editors, Scientific America, February 2022 issue. And that's how they did change the title a little bit, but we'll go with this. I just want to read some of the excerpts because when I'd read it, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'll quote them. This regressive agenda threatening children's education by propagating a falsified view of reality in which American history and culture are outcomes of white virtue. It is part of a larger program of avoiding any truth that makes some people uncomfortable, which sometimes allows an active disinformation, such as creationism. Children are especially susceptible to misinformation, as Melinda Werner Muller writes in Schooled in Lies. That paragraph was a direct quote from them. And now that they're saying creationism is misinformation, I'm to believe Scientific American that the Bible is misinformation. And I'm not to believe that my religion is under attack directly at this point. I'm not to believe that Christianity is under attack directly at this point when they say that creationism is a right-wing agenda or idea, an alt-right, and to say freedom is an alt-right idea. And I am doing another episode about that with what's going on with Trudeau and how between Trudeau, Australia, and Biden's attempted mandates, this is very bad for the West as well as for Christianity. And now is far past the time where we need to take a stand. I'm not preaching violence. I'm not advocating violence. There are other ways as Christians for us to be able to get the word out to say, this is wrong. Life is hard enough. We don't need to be a bunch of jerks. But I'm going to go ahead and quote a little bit more again. This is from the editors again. It is crucial for young people to learn about equality and social justice so they can thrive in an increasingly global, multilingual, multicultural society. I'm not cool with that because there are certain aspects of the East that just cannot integrate into the West. I'm a firm believer of that. There's just aspects of the East that just, unless they are willing to, and I will use the word convert their ways to our ways, not convert our ways to their ways. But I want to go on. When students become aware of the structural origins of inequity, they better understand the foundation of American society. Again, this sentence alone pointing out how American society, something built on the concepts of the teachings of Jesus Christ, is systemically racist. We have a problem here, people. I will continue. They are also better equipped to comprehend, interpret, and integrate into their worldviews the sciences they learn in their classrooms and experience in their lives. Ooh, yeah, let's not get into the idea of the science, with Fauci saying how he is the science. Yeah, no, that didn't work too well for me when Fauci said it the first time round. It doesn't work for me too well now. Science changes. Science is meant to. Science is meant to change, evolve, and better understand reality around itself. There was a time when science and Christianity, religion, were the same thing. As a matter of fact, even if you look at the Hindu culture, there is quite a bit of the religion that shows in the past of technology and religion were very much the same thing. But, alas, let me go on. Because right now the science is, again, well, I've managed to catch COVID. Wow. You know, again, when I caught SARS, it was far worse than COVID. COVID's bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not. It's a cold with an attitude, like I said it was. Thankfully, I guess I caught the Omicron version, whatever, because I'm considered high risk because of my heart. I've been encouraged multiple times to take the vaccine. I'm not ready to yet. When I'm 65, we'll talk about it. Until then, I don't think I need to. Now, having survived Omicron, I don't think I need to. But we'll get into that in the episode I have coming up about freedom and what's going on and why it's a concern to me. And more so being a non-practicing ordained minister. I wanted to take another quick look at Joe Rogan and what's going on with Joe Rogan at the moment. And again, the assault on free speech that is currently going on by the left and cancel culture. And I'll get a little bit into that later on as well. Not in this video, but I do have another video dealing with that. But I want to say with Joe Rogan and the use of the N-word works because during Jim Crow, I would be forced to live in a black community because of my grandmother. But since there is no Jim Crow, I don't have to live in a segregated community. But being a white man in a black community, oh yeah, and you people, yeah, well, that's a whole nother thing we can get into. Act like it never happened, because yeah, we can forget about that. But racism, slavery is easier to point at as opposed to many, many other things. So in the article that CNN had put out, Joe Rogan had used the N-word. They themselves had used the N-word 30 times in their argument, claiming that it was a January 6th-like moment. Now, what the heck is a January 6th-like moment? Don't even get me started on that. They weren't armed. They weren't armed in the building. They weren't holding it. They left pretty easily. They gave ground pretty easily. As a matter of fact, within 2 hours, the vote was still passed. That is not a coup or an insurrection. It is not that big a deal. But yeah, well, again, I'll get into that with the freedom. How freedom is a right-wing, alt-right-wing propaganda word now. Next, I'll be told God bless America is bad. CNN would like to have you believe that it is equal to the downfall of democracy with Joe Rogan using the N-word. But they have the Super Bowl halftime show where people do nothing but praise it. Eminem has plenty of songs. Snoop Dogg's got a few. Yeah, I know what rap of the 90s sounded like and rap of the 80s sounded like. I was there. Didn't think it was music for me. I listened to rock and roll. Go Ozzy. Anyways, the halftime show with the rap lyrics and everything. So I ask you, why is it okay for some to use it and not others? Again, where does it stop? When I have people, I actually heard somebody tell my wife she's not black. That's how confused the African American culture and community really is. Oh, and how racist it is. How willing it is to segregate itself. I mean, I'd known it had happened to my wife, but to actually watch somebody do it, oh my gosh. That's how crazy the religion of the left is getting. To claim that the Senate is sacred halls, like it was some kind of church to a religion or a god. No, it's not. Never was. Never was intended to be. It is simply a place, not a place of worship. If that were the case, it would have been closed during COVID. Funny that it wasn't, but churches were. Whatever. But then some animals are more equal and more privileged than others. We know this. This is why some people can use the N-word and not. Now, CNN says that white people should have to not only not be able to use the word without paying some kind of price for using the word. Again, really? I got a few other words I'll be happy to use on you. Mean the same thing. I think no one should use the word regardless of your skin color, period. No one should. White, black, Caucasian, Hindu, Asian, whatever. Native American, whatever. As a matter of fact, I don't know. Anyways. Of course, CNN will take this art. They took the article down. They replaced it with a new one that just straight out attacks Joe Rogan. And while CNN changes their headlines for misinformation purposes and shows how willing they are to stand by their values, which are none at all, fake reporting, editorial, opinion pieces they call journalism. How quickly they can change to fix the narrative by simply changing the headlines or reposting it on the internet, going, we never said that. It is selective that no one uses the word, but being on the correct side of the media bias, is still a bias of omission. So we'll see what happens. I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to join me. I hope that there's something in here that is a benefit to you or to somebody that you know. Please leave a comment down below. I would be more than happy to, if not directly, leave a comment to be able to make a conversation. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a very beautiful day.